I've spent 14 months building this city. 55 episodes, hundreds of hours, from tiny suburbs to a sprawling airport, a mad transit hub, and even an F1 track. But today, Cape Lomond is dead. Not burned, not bombed, just drained of life. I've lost over 80,000 citizens. The death rate is insane, the birth rate's gone, and an entire generation has vanished. I tried everything to save it, but nothing worked. This is a story of how it all fell apart and why I might never build here again. Let me take you back to episode 50 where I first noticed something off. Commercial demand had flatlined some time ago, medium and high density residential basically dead, only low res, office and industry were showing any signs of life. So I leaned into the low residential, built it out slowly, and with a few tweaks the housing actually started to fill up. It's a promising start. Around this time I checked on unhappiness, healthcare and death care, and that's when I first spotted the first real death wave. I clocked it, but I didn't think much of it. I carried on. The death rate was climbing, though not alarmingly yet, and all the major city services, healthcare, fire, police, garbage were holding up just fine. Still, I wasn't taking any chances. I went full belts and braces. I did a full sweep of the city services, even the ones I've barely touched before. I was hoping there might be some hidden mechanic in there that could perhaps kickstart demand again. Telecoms coverage was weak. I fixed that with new masts and added capacity right across the map. Mail had patchy coverage, though just a few more post boxes and a few more mail offices were required for that. Welfare, which I'll be honest I had completely ignored up until now, I just added some new city admin buildings and welfare buildings, and we just spread them through the map as well. We got a decent coverage there too. With these upgrades in place, I saw a small boost, and it was enough to keep the low res builds moving in, and it gave industry a little nudge too. And just to recap, we worked on mail, telecoms, welfare, and we double checked on police, healthcare, garbage, water, electricity, and overall happiness. So no sirens blaring, no red flags. Demand was weak, for sure, but things were holding together. I was cautiously optimistic. But of course, this was just the beginning. With the new low-density sprawl complete, it was time for a big project, the airport. This was a major build, and I was deep in it. So deep, I wasn't really tracking the city stats as closely as I perhaps should have been. Luckily, I've got hundreds of save files for this series, so I was able to go back and piece together exactly what was happening behind the scenes. And what I found was unsettling. While the airport was going up, so was the population, peaking at 164,570. On the surface, things looked great. Growth was solid, no major issues showing up. Under the hood, the death rate was quietly exploding. Over 6,000 Sims per month were dying, and that number was climbing. At the time, I had no idea. In fact, the city had a high move-in rate, and that was masking the problem. As soon as people were dying, new Sims were filling the gap left behind. By the end of that episode, the death rate had hit nearly 9,000 per month, up from the city's long-standing average of around 1,000. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment everything started to unravel. So we fast forward to the start of episode 53. I'd finished the big and absolutely not disgusting airport interchange. Now the goal was simple: squeeze out whatever demand we had left, mainly industry and a little bit of office. But even with all the city upgrades from earlier, the decline was becoming impossible to ignore. The city had fallen from its peak of 164,000 down to now 143. That's a 20,000 drop in population in less than 2 years. So, time for something different. The plan is to build an anchor industry, something to stimulate jobs and hopefully demand. I chose the big pharma building. Now, of course, despite the bonuses these buildings give, they won't move the dial on their own, so I built out a full industrial zone around it. It should have worked. There were jobs, there was infrastructure, everything on paper made sense, but the death rate, still brutal. No matter what I did, that spiral continued. By the end of this phase, the population had dropped again, and it was now sitting at 132,000. And that's when I knew this wasn't a blip, something deeper was broken. With the city still in decline, I tried a new angle. I built out a hotel-heavy commercial district near the airport, a shiny new hub to draw people in. But the truth is, it felt hollow from the start. There just weren't enough Sims to fill the buildings, and frankly, I haven't seen commercial demand in months, so deep down, I knew that wasn't really going to change anything. time for a change of tactics. So instead of more zones, I went all in on improving attractiveness. I started placing signature buildings, not randomly, not spammed, but carefully slotted into the areas where I thought that it made architectural or proportional sense. And while I was at it, I laid down a ton of additional parks, trying to boost land value and make that city at least feel alive again in certain areas. The problem is that land value infographic. It's basically 50 shades of confusing blue, so it's impossible to tell what's working and what isn't. So I took a bit of a scattergun approach with the parks. I just filled a lot of gaps and I hoped for the best. I even dropped a couple of park maintenance depots thinking that they might help keep things looking fresh. They do help maintain the attractiveness score overall, but they send out like 2 vehicles, maybe 3, so realistically they're not doing much and potentially they're just a giant money sink. And then came the big one. I placed the EE Disease Control Centre. Massive thing, expensive, but actually a perfect fit for the space. Visually, if you've ever seen a better if it fits it sits moment, I want to know about it, so satisfying. And functionally, I wanted that sweet citywide disease reduction. But in the end, it really made no difference. This was yet another chapter trying everything, only to watch the city continue to die. By April 2054, I had run out of ideas and options. We're now 6 years into this story and 2 years into the major decline, and despite every metric improvement and every building addition, the city had lost around 40,000 people from its peak. The death rate now is standing at over 11,000 per month, and it's still rising. So I decided to run an experiment, let the simulation roll, and just see how things pan out if I stop intervening. Here's what happened. By mid-2056, 2 years later, the population had dropped to under 100,000. It was only then that I noticed something strange. Homeless Sims were showing up in great numbers. Streets, parks, random corners of the map, but the game said there was 0% homeless. I dug a bit deeper, and with some mods, I found the real number to be over 26,000 homeless. Unemployment had skyrocketed even though there were still plenty of jobs, and it was looking suspiciously like the old homeless bug. But then, things get even weirder. Sims were dying off at the age of 36, like specifically 36 years old. And that age group and the years past 36 almost wiped out from the city's demographics, gone. Which is a huge problem because not only is that a big chunk of the economically active citizens, but I suspect that is potentially also the childbearing group age as well. So now we've got a death rate that's through the roof, a super low birth rate, and really no middle generation in the city. It's not just a death wave, it's a death spiral. By April 2057, the city has hit its lowest point. Even after another full year of simulation, things don't bounce back. There was a slight uptick in the population after this, but now with 16,000 people dying per month, it's not even close to being sustainable. Homelessness is still abundant, the city is still hemorrhaging money, and that weird demographic hole, that's not going away. So where does that leave us? After 14 months of building and 55 episodes, I can confidently say the city's dead. Or at best on life support. Yes, there's still stuff that I wanted to build here, and no, I don't want this to be the end, but I'm not going to keep placing empty buildings in a lifeless city just to watch them stay empty. I want traffic, I want Sims, I want life, and without that, what's the point? So here's the plan. I'm going to retire this series, at least for now, but I am holding hope that a future patch or a mod update will fix this. If it does, I'll roll back to a previous save and we'll keep going. If not, well, it might be the permanent end of Cape Lomond. And honestly, I think I'm okay with that. This is the closest I've come to ever finishing a full city, and I've enjoyed all of it, to be honest. I've learned a ton, we've built some banger landmarks, and I've had a ridiculous amount of a good time doing it. But now it's time for a fresh start. Blank canvas. A chance to get creative on a new, interesting map. It does hold an awful lot of appeal. So, what's next? Well, I've got no idea. Well, not no idea, I've got loads of ideas, I just haven't picked a direction yet. So if something comes to mind, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys would be excited to see next. And apologies for the no build episode, I think this is the only one I've ever done. Maybe not what you're expecting from this video, but I do appreciate you watching up to this point. Today, you've seen Cape Lomond at its lowest. Now, go see it at its best. There's a full 55 episode playlist linked right here, packed with epic builds, wild road interchanges, all my favourite moments of the series. Feel free to jump in anywhere, or even better, watch it again from the start. I'll see you there.